Greetings, Algo artisans. More news on Athena. We're going to first start in the charts and we're going to take a look at what's going on behind the scenes. We're going to get into it right now.
It seemed to cut my learning curve.
Okay, so here is the Athena chart, and of course this only goes back to the beginning of the month on the 2nd right here. So Athena hasn't been on the exchanges for terribly long, and it has really done great. As a matter of fact, it's basically tripled, although it has come down from that triple from the time of listing. The low on the date that it was listed here on MexC was about 50 cents, and it peaked out at $1.44, so almost a triple, and it does look like it's going to keep going. Now, there's not a lot of data. This is a newer coin, from a charting standpoint, it can be difficult to use high time frame algorithms to talk about what might happen in the future. However, like we talked about in our show last week, people and the companies that are backing this coin are pretty strong. You can stake, get rewards, a couple of different options on that. But for the meantime, let's take a look at what price might do for this coin. I'm going to take a look at the most recent extension, right? The most recent impulse up, and that is from here to here. And we're going to use the Fibonacci extension tool to talk about where price might go. Now, price has never been higher than this, so there's no way to look back and to see what happened in the past and to try to use that structure. So all we really have are tools such as the Fibonacci extension tool, and we could use that right here along with just a couple lines and look at the 1272 extension and the 1618 extension, and that takes price up to about $1.54 and about $1.66. Those are two areas where price may very well go, and we do see a nice move down to the 618, and it does appear that price may be ready to head up. There is liquidity that price probably grabbed up in this area due to some prior price action, and so we do see basically a dip into liquidity, which tends to satisfy the pullback, right? And if it did so at the 618, this is the most common golden ratio for pullbacks. Decent opportunity here to possibly take a long. I'm not saying I'm doing this. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just saying there's a possibility to do this, and this is not investment advice, but my long would look something like this. If I were to take it now, I probably would take targets around those two areas that we discussed just a moment ago, 153, 154, and 165, 166, and I would use a stop loss below the most recent structure. A conservative stop loss would be below this older structure that is right here, and a more aggressive stop loss would be below this recent structure right there, and that's just the way that works. And I might even consider splitting the difference, half the money on the lower stop loss, half the money on the higher stop loss, but that is all going to be done according to your own research. Now, if I took a look at this larger impulse prior to the one that we're looking at now, we might be able to see if there's any confluence in the Fibonacci levels here. So the impulse that I would measure would look like this, and it's a much longer impulse. So as I use this Fibonacci tool, we may see that there is some confluence between our levels, and it does appear that there is. The 1618 from this older move is very close to this 272. So when I am taking profit, I might consider that there is a lot of confluence between these two fib levels up here. Let me zoom in on them to make it easier for you all to see. Now you can see this 618 right there. Let me use my arrow, 618 here, 272 there, corresponding lines. So in this box is a pretty decent area for me to consider taking, if not all of the profit, then some of the profit. And if I were only taking a portion of the profit, I probably would move my stop up into at least break even, or say the entry of the trade, and that way it's a permanent profit trade. So that is my trading plan for Athena should I decide to take a trade. I may simply take the more aggressive stop loss, or I might split the difference. And a lot of that might have to do with what Bitcoin is doing. Now, prior to the halving, there can be some volatility, and if Bitcoin were to move to the downside in a very violent manner, then of course this could pull Athena down despite Athena's price action. Now, we got to ask ourselves, why is Athena doing so well? And Athena is doing so well because of a number of things. Let's take a look at some news here. But this kind of news has to do with actual assets in the company, and their Bitcoin collateral exceeds $500 million in a week. So investor confidence was so much so that they could put $500 million in Bitcoin collateral into this system within a week. Those are some pretty big numbers, not to mention we were right before the halving, so that collateral could actually really increase if Bitcoin were to increase in and of itself, and most people do believe that is going to happen in the near future. It says the platform's website data showed approximately $537 million in Bitcoin reserves across various exchanges such as Binance, OKX, and Deribit. The amount represents roughly 26% of his total asset reserve. And if that's the case, then basically the collateral in asset reserves rose 26% in that week. So as of the writing of this article, you're talking about $2 billion-ish, maybe just over that in total reserve. So definitely a pretty decently backed vehicle here. What else may have happened? We have a little bit more going on here. There's adoption of USDE. So data from CryptoSlate shows the USDE's market cap has soared. Here it is, 2.14 billion, with its trading volume during the past day at 364 million. So you're looking at approaching 20% of the entire market cap being traded in the past day, which is pretty notable. It says earlier today, Athena Labs revealed Frax Finance approved a $250 million liquidity pool to facilitate automated market operations for mining new Frax tokens. So we have a lot going on here in this ecosystem, and it's involving hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's also take a look at this article here from CoinDesk. It says ENA rises 15% as Athena Labs increases staking rewards. So of course, when you increase staking rewards, then you're going to encourage people to put more money into the ecosystem. And it says here, users who lock 50% or more of their ENA relative to their balance of USDE will receive a reward boost of 50%. Now that is substantial. That is a big deal. Huge increase. So obviously what we're seeing is more people locking down their ENA, and the more money that's locked down, the more money they are able to make. And like I talked about this, they have what is called a delta neutral strategy. What does that mean? Well, one of the things we're going to ask ourselves is how are they funding this bond, right? Because basically what you're doing is you are buying a bond. That's a very simple way of explaining how this platform works. What they do is they involve purchasing Bitcoin and simultaneously shorting the asset to generate an annual yield in a cash and carry trade. And they also employed a similar strategy on Ether since January. So what they're doing is they're going to make money in both directions at the same time. It means that they can profit whether the market is going up or whether the market is going down. They're scraping the cream off the top. And because they're trading essentially in both directions, they're able to have a much higher probability of winning. So this is really some interesting stuff. It's how the bond is funded. I think this is an extremely interesting coin. I do believe that only people in certain jurisdictions can participate in this. And I want to also remind everybody that of course every single investment is risky. You can always lose your money. Any investment in the world can go to zero, so none of this is investment advice. I do have a very kind testimonial about Algo Factory. So we had one of our individuals, one of our members, sent in a testimonial regarding working in this case specifically with me. We help people to build trading methods where they can extract money from the market. It could be on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis depending on how they design their algorithm. Much in the same way as this company has a strategy of making money where they trade and pull money out of the market, and that's how they fund their bonds. We teach people how to build their own trading method so that they can fund whatever it is they wish to fund. So go ahead, check this testimonial out, and here we go. Thank you.
This is Think Free's Algo Factory testimonial. I began my prescription for Algo Factory the summer of 2023. I am now 70 years old and I have set a goal to have a supplementary income by learning to trade. I have been putting in about 3 to 4 hours per week of study time. In spite of this small time of commitment, I am determined to learn to trade. I set a goal of slow, steady progress in my learning. It is now March of 2024, and I have been delighted that through the articulate speech and hands-on help and support from Cowboy, I have developed an algo that looks very promising. I've come to appreciate Cowboy's remarkable ability to communicate and teach. He's not just knowledgeable, but also very creative in his shoot-from-the-hips approach. I wonder, is that where the name Cowboy came from? I have followed the Algo Cowboy and V the Guerrilla Economist for more than 3 years and have found them to be very respectful, caring, and firmly rooted in reality. By that I mean they have a clear, deep, no-nonsense understanding of the world we live in, not just in trading and economics, but geopolitically and, dare I say, spiritually as well. For me, this fact makes working with them all the more gratifying and secure. This has and continues to be a great investment of my time and money. Also ends up being fun with the humor that is shared amongst our Algo Factory group members. Thank you, Cowboy.
Thank you for listening to that. In the meantime, please remember, trade your job, upgrade your life. We'll see you on the next one.